accidents are terrifying experiences. You're hurt, and you need someone on your side who understands. Call the Advocates. They have over 20 years' experience with accident cases and have recovered settlements for hundreds of other motorcyclists. They can handle the medical bills and deal with the insurance company so you can focus on recovering and getting back on your bike. The Advocates are my motorcycle attorneys.
You deserve clear, risk-free advice to help get you back on your feet. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Good Tuesday, my friends. October 8th already. The Monty Show, presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. Clear, risk-free advice. That's what you get from the Advocates, because they understand when you're looking for an injury attorney, it's probably one of the worst days of your life. You don't need, hey, well, I'll give you advice. Cut me a huge check. No, friends. You don't pay the Advocates unless and until they win your case. What that means is you never reach into your pocket to get clear, risk-free advice from the Advocates. In fact, you can chat with an injury attorney live online right now, and it won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. Hello, thank you very much for being here today. We have got a lot to get to. I ask you one small favor today. When we get to the ESPN FPI, I ask you, please do not lose your mind. Do not yell and scream in your car alone by yourself. Do not go into the office and turn over the water cooler, because you're going to hate the ESPN FBI. How do I know that? I am on X, where everybody hates everything, especially. I tweeted about the ESPN FBI yesterday, and if you're not an Ohio State fan, you are very unhappy. Very, very unhappy.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people actually know what the FPI is. We'll get to that. NFL Power Rankings, another power hour of NFL talk next hour, 1 hour from now. But we start with a transformative day in college athletics and really college football. A judge yesterday preliminarily approved the NIL lawsuit settlement in college athletics. And what this means is that you are going to have major universities collecting about $21.5 million a year to start. That'd be each university collecting $21.5 million to directly pay college athletes, mostly in college football and college basketball. And still, those athletes are going to be able to go outside the university of system and earn money on their name, image, and likeness. Jake, is this a good or a bad thing for college athletics?
Yeah, I think it's a really slippery slope. They obviously provide, the lifeblood of athletics, right? They're the ones out there competing. They're the ones putting their body on the line every week. Like, obviously, they should be able to go out and get paid. I think the hard part with this is, as we always reference on the show, the unintended consequences and who's going to try to skirt what rule, and what's the new wild west look like, because we all know that somebody's going to break some kind of rule within this settlement. And that's my biggest concern. We've graduated from, hey, careful how many chicken sandwiches you take off the training table after the game, to now we're in a place where kids are making millions. And if that was it, if that was all we were talking about, I wouldn't be concerned at all. Hey, you're a superstar college football player. Go out and make your money, dude. If I had that kind of ability and I could do that, I'd want to make money too. So it's not even that I have an issue with kids making money. I just feel like when we get settlements like this and we get all this new legality coming into the sport, inevitably someone tries to, make those millions of dollars at the school level and then maybe not pay out what they should. Or like we know that there's always going to be some type of something that goes on. And that's my biggest concern with this stuff, because we already see it in recruiting. We already see it in a variety of other areas within college athletics. And I just think that the more money is involved in something, the more problems that come up. So I'm curious, how that kind of manifests itself moving forward.
Well, the particulars on this are that there will be $2.5 billion set aside to pay athletes going back as far as 2016 who were not allowed to earn money above board, like without envelope and bagmen on their name, image, and likeness. And that's really what I think, over time in college sports have seen, that we reduce teenagers to picking up envelopes in back alleys. And now it's all out in the light. So a $2.5 billion settlement. Athletes dating back to 2016 will begin collecting that money on October 18th, or will be eligible to. It is just a different day in college athletics. I think the other really important talking point here is about the impact NIL is having on college athletics. I think it is a very good thing. I think that we are in a place in our society where we need to allow kids to make mistakes. And we have already seen mistakes being made in NIL. Just ask UNLV with their quarterback situation with Matt Sluka, or any number of these situations where you've seen promises made, but promises not kept. Because does an 18-year-old kid know he's got to get a contract? Is it always in writing? Of course it's not. And that's where the regulation part of this, the regulatory aspect of this NIL settlement, is huge. There will be oversight for NIL, because to this point, if we're being brutally honest, I don't think any of us believe that NIL has been just an overwhelmingly good thing for college football and basketball. I don't think any of us believe that. I think this Wild West atmosphere we've been living in for the last several years has actually been very detrimental. You've seen a lot of kids not playing bowl games because, frankly, it's not worth their money to get hurt to play in a meaningless bowl game. I think that's been very bad for fan bases, and it's caused, frankly, a lot of passionate college athletic fans to become apathetic towards college athletes now who are making far more, and who a lot of older college athletic fans don't believe should get anything other than a scholarship. Well, bad news for those folks, because now everybody on the football team, I think it's 107 now is the roster number, all of those people will be on scholarship. 15 players on a basketball team now will be on scholarship. You will have more scholarships available in stick and ball sports, yet you will also have walk-ons at that level. So the game is changing fundamentally. The way that we fund college athletics in this country has completely changed with the stroke of a judge's pen. And I think it's a very good thing. Now the part that you don't want to talk about. And I think if you are a fan of the G5, this is where the College Football Super League is born. And I don't know how you argue this. Number one, lean into it. Lean into it. Because as I say in a lot of situations on this show, you better learn to love it. Because this is where we're going. This is the future. And I'm not telling you that everything will be perfect in a College Football Super League. But what is the most important caveat of this settlement that has been preliminarily, it will not be final until next spring, but a judge signed off on it on a preliminary basis. It allows universities to opt out. It says, hey, if you don't want to be involved in this revenue sharing and you don't want to pay $21.5 million every single year to your athletes, opt out. I think just about everybody at the FCS level, which essentially is Division II, everybody at the FCS level is going to opt out. You're going to see a lot of the G6 now opt out of revenue sharing. And what does that mean? Well, that means you just shrank the pool of the College Football Super League from hundreds to probably 60 or 70. Funny. What are the numbers we've been talking about for over a year on this show? Yeah, about 60 or 70 or 80, max 80 teams in the Super League. And I think now, with the money that these universities, because again, not to oversimplify this, Who makes up the NCAA? Every one of these universities we talk about on this show on a daily basis, whether you are FCS, whether you are FBS, Division 68, you're in the NCAA. You're the ones that approve this. And they didn't do it blindly, and they didn't take it lightly. This is where the College Football Super League is born. This is where in football alone, and it is exclusive to football, conference affiliation in a number of years is not going to matter anymore. You are going to be paying to play big boy football. And Jake, in my opinion, it's exactly what college football needs.
Yeah, I just think that there's a separation of classes that has to take place. And I think, this settlement kind of paves the way for that process to begin. And I think, the opt-in, opt-out situation is a perfect mechanism to start that process. I also think, in the settlement, there's a lot of gray area right now around, hey, will that, revenue sharing number of, 22 million a year, will that slowly creep up after we get the opt-in, opt-out situation kind of dealt with? And I think those are the things that you're going to start to see play out, because we're already seeing the separation of classes at the power conference level, right? We're already seeing, hey, the SEC and the Big Ten are already making way more money than the ACC and the Big 12. And that sort of concept is going to continue to trickle down into the G5, into the FCS level,
Absolutely.
like he was just saying. And I think that the money, the money piece of this is something that leadership in college football, I feel like, hasn't really necessarily wanted to kind of embrace or talk about, or like just be honest about the fact that, we probably shouldn't have, Sac State or any other, FCS school on the same football field, as Ohio State or whoever you want to point to, even if it is week 0 of the college football season. It shouldn't be a thing where we're putting those schools in that position simply by cutting them a check because they need the money.
You understand this is a $20 billion revenue share we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's 22% on average for all P4 schools. 22% they're kicking down to their athletes. And I say it's high time. It's high time. The idea that you were compensating these kids with lifelong disabilities, but we threw in a scholarship so you'll be fine. You made billions on the back of these athletes and gave them essentially nothing for it. And I agree that an education is really important. I agree that 99.99% of these kids will never draw a paycheck to play professional sports. But a college scholarship is not good enough, because you took advantage of kids who had no business going to a lot of these universities so you could win games, so you could make money. So they weren't able to intellectually compete. They weren't able to academically compete. And they have a knee that's never going to be the same, a back, a brain injury. College football in particular is absolutely devastating to the body. So you owe these kids this money, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You owe it to them. This $2.5 billion is just a drop in the bucket. If you're going to have knee replacement at 30 years old, come on. You're, in my opinion, this is what should have happened years and years ago.
Yeah, and I think that's why this this whole settlement came about, right? I mean that's why the whole conversation's even being had, because we if you think about how this all played out, like it started with us getting like the proverbial the college football world
right.
getting more comfortable with the concept of, hey, these kids are going to make money one way or the other, and we shouldn't stop Travis Hunter from being able to make money on his name, image, and likeness.
But let's think about one thing. It's funny you bring that up. Do you understand the average athlete here is going to get about $12,000 a year for a decade? They'll average $120,000 over 10 years, and everybody's going to be like, dude, that's a lot of money. Is it really a lot of money? When you're a guy like Travis Hunter, who's making $12,000 probably per game because he's allowed to. Do you know how much money these kids dating back to 2016 lost? in things like video games, T-shirt deals, hat deals, car deals.
Think about the marketplace where we are in today's world. Like, if we just take a step back and just think about, like, 10 years ago, there was a lot. I feel like there was a lot more spending power in the marketplace, in the advertising space, than there is right here today. So the
flexibility.
Flexibility. So, like, to be able to clearly, you can make the argument that, hey, yeah, someone who played 10 years ago could have easily made money on their name, image, and likeness.
Well,
and
look at all the Utes driving pickup trucks, or you look at these guys with blender deals at Colorado for Deion Sanders, or whatever you want to point to. The whole thing here is this $12,000 a year for 10-year thing. I don't think is fair. It is a tip of the cap. Hey, you got screwed. And this $12,000 a year for the next 10 years, that's a thank you from all of the kids who are now making millions and driving Ram pickup trucks.
Yeah, we'll pay your taxes for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's truly what this is. And again, I don't want to make this out like the cost of an education is nothing. I fully understand that the kids are getting high-level educations. Again, at Colorado's a hell of an academic institution. You look across the Big 12, the Pac-12, the Mountain West, the SEC, the Big like you look at Michigan. We talked about this during the Michigan scandals last year. As much of a dirtbag as Jim Harbaugh is, well, those kids were getting a great education at Michigan because that is a wonderful place to go to college, a wonderful law school. So I'm not saying that kids didn't get compensated, but what I'm saying is how many of those kids had the perspective? How much importance did Brian Bosworth put on his education at Oklahoma? Ask it legitimately. How much importance did Devin Hester put on his education at Miami? Come on. I think we all know the answer to that question. Maurice Clarett at Ohio State.
Well, and I think we also have to make the point that a lot of these guys don't finish their education before they go to the league. Like most of like an NFL caliber college football player, like again, Travis Hunter, just for example's sake, Shedeur Sanders, these guys are getting drafted after 3 years going to the league. Look
at Shaq at LSU.
Yeah, Shaq at LSU, another good example, right?
Going back to school on a promise he made to his parents.
Yeah, and we hear that story all the time. And I think that, to say, hey, the education, giving you a free, college education is fair compensation for what you're giving up here with your body, I think is just short-sighted, mainly because it's not like they just gave you the diploma and now all that knowledge is locked into your brain. I mean, you got to go and do the learning. You got to go to the classes. Like, you're working 2 full-time jobs to get the education and to know your playbook and to be a starter on your team. Like, think about that. Like, not only as a football player specifically, not only do you have to go to class, be a good student, earn that education, albeit free, right? You're not paying for anything, but you still got to go out and get those grades. And then on top of that, you got to learn your playbook. You got to work your ass off in the weight room. You got to go and practice in the heat of the day. Like, I think people don't quite understand how difficult that is to do. I feel like, a lot of people just want to generalize it and say, well, we gave them a free education. Like, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of value. Well, you may have priced it at that value. That doesn't mean it's worth $100,000 to every single player. I mean, how many of these kids never went back to school because they just didn't feel like it, because it's too hard for them because they can't academically compete
in a society where education was not the priority. And when you go to a university today, and I think we need to be able to talk about this stuff openly. Not every kid goes to college to get an education, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not every kid signs an NIL deal because he wants to play college sports. He signs an NIL deal to help his parents, because we don't see outside of our own 4 walls. We don't understand the plight of the inner city kid. We don't understand the plight of how expensive it is to be a parent and have your kid go to the private school at Mater Dei and have to pay for things like throwing coaches, and because your kid's trying to live a dream, and he's going to junior college, and then he's going here and he's going there, and maybe he's transferred high schools. Go look at AAU and look at AAU basketball in this country and tell me that sets kids up to succeed, because it does not. AAU does not set kids up to succeed in life. And if you can go to, and BYU is a great example of this. Kalani Sitake is going to make you a man. You're going to go to class. But what else do you have to do at BYU? You got to go to church. Look at Notre Dame. You got to go to church every day. You got to, the life is not easy. And I think so many people are like, well, just don't make them go to class then. That's not the right thing to do. We're taking 18-year-old kids who now are allowed to earn money before they ever step on campus.
Yeah.
That was also part of the settlement. But we're taking 18-year-old kids and we're putting them in leverage spots. How many Ryan Williams at Alabama are there? Because there's not a lot. That kid is thriving. Right? That kid came to Bama ready to play football. But there are so many kids who are not.
Mm-hmm.
So what this settlement does is it gives them a little more time and a little more comfort. And if that's what you get out of it, I'm all for it. But let's also not forget this right here. It's time for the Super League. And it's time for the lesser universities in the college football world to take a step back. This is where the big dogs step up to the trough and they eat before you do.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to pay for your spot. And I totally get that. I don't look down on anybody. I cannot believe that there is an FCS school. Because with this settlement, it's not just $5 million anymore to step up from FCS to FBS to compete at the highest level of college athletics anymore. Now you're talking about $60 to $70 million. Look at Sacramento State in the Pac-12. New stadiums, new facilities, new staff. How many tens of millions of dollars is that? Then you got to pay your $5 million. How many tens of millions of dollars is that totaling now? Now you got to pay for more air travel. Now you got to pay for more tutors. Now you got to pay for more food and more training tables and more catering and more insurance and on and on and on.
Yep.
How many FCS schools opt into the settlement?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think very few.
Very few.
Is there even 5?
And,
legitimately.
And the other thing, and then I want to get to your comments because I think your voice on this is really important. The other thing you got to remember, how many universities are operating at a profit in athletics? Far fewer than you think. So I think this is going to shrink the pool of Super League candidates, and I think that's exactly what this Super League needed to get off the ground.
Well, and I think it kind of, to that point, I think one step further, it kind of categorizes these schools, like obviously, yeah, you've got the group of schools that's going to compete in the Super League, of course. But then, we also know that, hey, that group of schools competing in the Super League is obviously going to be quite a bit smaller than the rest of college football. And so the question to me, for just generally speaking, college football's sake and its health moving forward, is not whether or not the Super League will do well. The Super League will do extremely well. It will thrive. They will make a boatload of money. I have no doubt that that's a great concept, will come to fruition, and everybody will make money. But I think the more important question in the big picture is, what does the any school that competes as a football and every other sport kind of school, what does that look like? What does your future look like there? How do you, if you're not a Super League team and you opt out of this settlement, what does that look like moving forward? Do we ever get the national championship for the G5 and everybody else? Do we get an independent system, if you will, for those schools? Because I think that's the type of thing that's going to have to happen for it to work for everybody. And I think the Super League's got to have the priority because, like you said, you got to have the big dogs eating. But then everyone else, there's got to be a system there that gets laid out at some point.
You're going to have 105 people playing football for you, human beings. I mean, that's billions of dollars in scholarship money right there. I mean, it is to play college football is not cheap. And it is never been more critical that your non-revenue generating sports make you money, that they generate. I mean, even if it's 15 cents, they've got to generate revenue.
Yes.
They have to, because if I again believe that Ohio State is the gold standard in revenue generation in college athletics, that $200+ million a year. How many schools will not do that money in a decade? Many. If you're in the Patriot, the Ivy League, if you're in any of those, if you don't play, let me ask you this. If you are Gonzaga, are you ever opting into the Super League? Of course not. But are you opting into revenue sharing with your athletes? That's a big question.
I mean, I don't think you have a choice. I think at Gonzaga, you have to, because you need to continue to get the best athletes in basketball. And the only way to do that is to pay. And, but I know it sucks, but like, that's a vicious cycle that a school like Gonzaga is going to have to deal with, where, hey, and again, nobody was trying to hear this smoke when we were talking about this with the Pac-12 situation. But all these schools that got on their high horse and said, oh, hey, the Pac-12 is better, we're getting in here, even though there's not any semblance of a TV deal working right now. It's all in negotiations. It's all in the background. We haven't heard word one about it. So there's no guarantee of any type of pay raise or money yet, just what they're telling you. And now you've got the settlement to worry about. And that's why I don't understand why schools who had guaranteed money coming to them in a TV deal that was already hammered out thought it was a good idea to take this risk in today's climate, because you can't be in a spot where you're locked into a contract for 5 years on an underperforming deal that doesn't allow you to make enough money.
Especially with the Mountain West doing their new TV deal already.
Yeah,
you knew you were at $7 million. Like, I think it's a real conversation now. Do basketball onlys opt out of revenue sharing? I think a majority of them will.
Yeah.
And I wonder, is it a scarlet letter, or does it make you a pariah if you are not revenue sharing? I think that's a real question. Is a scholarship enough for a 2-star football player to go to North Dakota State, to go to Sacramento State, UC Davis, to go and play at any school that is not revenue sharing? Because you can forget about it now. Like, your historically black colleges, HBCUs, you're out of the game. Deion Sanders. Does Deion Sanders ever happen again? Does Travis Hunter ever go to Jackson State under these current circumstances? There's not a chance in the world.
No.
It's not a chance in the world. And does Deion Sanders ever agree to be the head coach at Jackson State if these rules were in place previously? Not a chance in the world. Because he knows Shedeur and Shiloh and Travis Hunter, he knows his guys aren't gonna make money at Jackson State. So the game has changed today. And I'm here for it. I am ready for the Super League.
Yeah, and I also think, like, just one thought coming to my mind, very, very much on the outskirts of the conversation. But if you're a head coach or if you're in the coaching side of this conversation, this changes your reality big time.
Absolutely.
I mean, whether you're like, think about guys like Chip Kelly, who were a head coach, now you're the coordinator at Ohio State. Like, think about like, obviously yesterday we talked all about Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State. Like just think about these guys' situations and the trajectory they're on, and how much this affects the decisions they make. Because I'm telling you, it's on the forefront of their minds. They have to consider it when they think about, hey, well, I'm Mike Gundy, and I'm Dabo Swinney. I haven't really embraced the portal yet, but maybe now I have to. Maybe now it's not up to me.
Have to.
Like,
I mean, you're in a position now where it's an arms race.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem with it. I know I have taken a beating on this show for saying this. I am no fan of Cinderella and her slippers. I'm not here for it. I want Georgia-Bama every single Saturday. I want big games of consequence. I don't care. The Ohio State, Oregon this week, dude, I'm not playing golf.
Yeah.
Because I am watching Oregon and Ohio State this week.
Yes.
The smoker is going to be power washed, and I am going to have a mammoth pile of wings and ranch dressing while my guy Will Howard goes out and kicks some duck ass. I'm here for it. I need that game every Saturday, and the Super League gives it to me, because in a Super League, if you don't win games, you're not getting into the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, is my quarterback healthy, and what do 7, 8, 10 people sitting around a mahogany table I can't afford deciding my future mean? What it is, hey, did we play well enough to get in? Okay, great.
Well, what it would have been like last year if the Super League was a thing, Florida State would have got rolled by Georgia in that game. And that would have been what sent them home. Not, to your point, a group of people around a mahogany table you can't afford.
Right?
Like I completely agree with it. And I think that, it's
here
the old
for it.
Yeah, it's that
Ready.
old, all again, and then we'll get to your comments, but all the red ass folks about, treating Kyle Whittingham like he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Do we still have that
We
bite?
We do. And I think it's justified to play it today, because at Big 12 Media Day, you've got Kyle Whittingham talking about the fact that college football is heading towards a NFL minor league system.
So much change already, and there's more on the horizon. I can tell you that we're not done. I think it's ultimately going to get to 2 super conferences and their own playoff system, and probably break away from the NC2A, have a commissioner and all. It's an NFL minor league model, I think, is where we're heading in that regard.
How does that look today? Like,
makes us look like geniuses, because we've been telling you that for 18 months.
Yeah, I just think it's there's a very clear objective here, man. There's a very clear direction.
Yes, 365 Sports with Kyle Whittingham at Big 12 Media Day in Las Vegas. You are with the Monty Show right now. Our comment section every single day is presented to you by our good friends at Prize Picks. Just take my money. I am personally Stop it. I am personally funding. I am personally funding the payroll at Prize Picks last week.
Last night was not productive on Prize Picks. That was
see what happened was
yeah.
I took Jake's advice again, and I don't know why I ever take your advice. You're terrible at Prize Picks, yet he's won.
Yeah, I got
all the time,
bro. I've been on a heater, bro. I'm sitting nice.
I had Xavier Worthy for 42.5 receiving yards. What? 25. I had Derek Carr for 106 or 188.5.
I have to say, it's embarrassing that he did not hit that number. That's
well, thankfully, Prize Picks rebooted it, so I won, right? No, because did Alvin Kamara get anywhere near the end zone? I had him for 1 touchdown rushing or receiving. No. Take my money,
idiots.
Idiot. I have not won in the NFL on Prize Picks since week 3. 2 straight weekends. I have absolutely sold my soul to Prize Picks. It's ridiculous how bad I have been in the NFL this year on Prize Picks. Now, Major League Baseball, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. You and I both know.
Got to get in on the Dodgers and Padres. Bro.
Have to. Prize Picks.
Bro.
Download the app. Use the promo code Monty to open up a new account. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more. It's the single greatest daily fantasy promo I have ever seen. If you are not excited about Lawyers and Padres, did you watch the Guardians and Tigers yesterday?
Man,
that was a pitching duel. Well, until it wasn't. Can I just little old Uncle Monty over here, boys? Hey, single up.
Hey,
all right, hey, just so you know, when you throw 100 miles an hour, probably don't want to hang that whatever off speed pitch that was.
A sweeper.
That was you don't want to hang that your throw. Hey. You throw 100 miles an hour. Stick with the heater. And you didn't, and it wound up in the seats. And the Tigers won.
Series tied 1-1.
Nobody likes Detroit. The point is, Prize Picks tonight for Dodgers and Padres.
Got to have Michael King on strikeouts, dude.
I think you definitely do. But I think you look at Shohei the money. I think you look at the great gambler and Shohei Ohtani.
The great gambler.
Same thing. I think there's only 3 ways to go here. Does Walker Buehler strike out 3 or more Padres? Don't you have to go more on Walker Buehler? As bad as he has been.
Okay, so here's just the Dodgers starting pitching in the postseason has been notoriously bad, not just this year, over the last several years.
Terrible.
Walker Buehler, I love the guy. Love his style. Love the way he pitches. We just haven't really seen this dude. I think it's a big risk. If you pick Walker Buehler more than 3 pitcher strikeouts, I think that has a good shot of hitting tonight, but it is a risky pick. I think there's a lot of unknown in that pick, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, could he, what's the risk of Walker Buehler getting run in the first inning? Legitimately.
High.
I think there's a high risk of that.
High. And you look at Manny Machado trying to hit Dave Roberts with a ball. Did you guys listen? I am a Cubs fan. I hate the Dodgers. I will just throw that out there.
Right.
Manny Machado is taking ground balls, and he tried to hit Dave Roberts with a throw. Dave was in the dugout, and he tried to hit Dave Roberts with a throw and then laughed about it. It's not funny. Like, this series has so much hate and anger in it.
Yeah.
It's why I love it. It's why I'm taking Shohei for 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. And pitcher strikeouts tonight is very difficult. Aaron Nola, his demon is 6.5 strikeouts.
Yeah.
He has hit that 4 straight starts.
Yeah, I like that
including 7 against the Mets on September 13th.
Yeah, I like that
It's
a lot.
Phillies Mets. I think you have to take that.
I'm going Michael King, more than 3.5 strikeouts on a goblin.
But he hasn't been able to do that.
And
the Dodgers, he didn't he strike out 3 Dodgers last time they faced?
Let me see.
I'd be a little nervous about that. I would be a little nervous about that. That's one. I would play hits, runs, and RBIs tonight in baseball because I also think I look at Bryce Harper. And Bryce Harper is a postseason god. I think we all know that. His hits, runs, and RBIs on a demon are 1.5. You could play a goblin, which means it's easier. 1 hit, run, or RBI. Or you can play a demon at 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Against the Mets, I think you have to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Right?
Okay, I
think
your advice. I'll take your advice on my side.
I'm going 3 demons here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I hit them all, that would be remarkable. I've got Shohei 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Aaron Nola 6.5 strikeouts, so he needs 7. And Bryce Harper 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs.
So I took the Shohei one as well.
$20 flex play to pay $140.
I've got Tatis on a demon, 3.5 total bases.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of taking Michael King on a goblin for more than 3.5 Ks, I'm going to take him less than 5.5 Ks. See how we do. If I hit on all 3, that's 20 to win 120 because of 2 demons.
Sean Manaea going against the Phillies. His last time out, September 21st, 7 innings, 3 hits, 3 earned, 2 home runs, 6 Ks, and he only faced 11 batters. So, or no, that can't be right. 89 pitches. He threw 89 pitches and gave up 11 fly balls. Yeah. So, I think he's going to be hittable tonight. Yeah, I think he will be hittable tonight. He had 2 starts against the Brewers, got shelled the first time out, and got hit pretty well the second time. You don't give Bryce Harper that many shots at one guy and think he's not going to come through. Prize Picks, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. Hook it up. Use the promo code Monty, M-O-N-T-Y, Monty, to open up a new Prize Picks account. Deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more at Prize Picks. First one in, Zesties Retro and Games. A member for 18 months.
Go, baby.
Let's go Royals and Chiefs. Also, hi, Jakey, 3 holes. Okay. We've got NFL power rankings coming up. Were you impressed with the Chiefs last night?
I wouldn't say impressed, but
Not in any way, shape,
they're
or form.
finding ways to win games.
They are. And they winning ugly, which
Yeah.
I hate, but
They are.
it's fine. Force Ghost Fabio, let it ride, Monty. I am. Boyd Lake, Tigers beat my Stros. Yeah, go bang a trash can, Boyd.
Yeah, how do you feel about losing to AJ Hinch?
Man, I hate the Astros. I hate everything about the Astros. What's his name? Gardner hitting the Yankees dugout roof.
Yeah, Brett Gardner.
Brett Gardner,
Yeah.
one of the greatest moments of my life. Force Ghost Fabio. Walker Buehler will not strike out 3 because Monty picked him. I didn't pick him. I want to make that clear.
Yeah, we decided against it.
I want Aaron Nola on a demon, so it's more difficult.
A demon.
6.5 pitcher strikeouts.
Yeah.
That's a lot in a playoff game. All right, let's get into the NIL settlements. Do you believe that a super league is going to be born out of this? Because I am 100%.
Do you believe?
I am 100% in on it. I think there's no doubt. That guy Hoffman, good point, Red Wine. Okay. Red Wine, I just wonder how many Corvettes are going to get wrapped around trees throwing big NIL contract money.
Well, I think you got the wrong company, dude. It's SRTs. Thank you.
That's the problem at Georgia.
Yeah.
They have a deal. They had a deal where they were all driving Dodge Chargers and Hellcats and there was an accident and people died and there was alcohol involved allegedly and
they're still driving Hellcats
and they're still getting tickets. Egregious. I can't remember what they call it. Super speeder tickets, driving SRTs. That it is what it is, right? Hillbilly skeptic. What if a 5-star wants to play football and work instead of college? He's just screwed. He is. Because I don't think people understand. You don't go get a job at McDonald's and play football.
Yeah.
You don't have the ability to do that. Your job is to go lift weights, go eat breakfast, and you eat the breakfast we tell you to eat.
Yeah.
Go work out and get your cardio in. Then go to class, then come back, get your physical therapy, do your yoga and stretching in most instances, and then eat whatever you're going to eat nutritionally right before you go to practice, go to study hall. Maybe I know a lot of football players during the week takes 7 p.m. classes, go to class, then go home and study your playbook. And if you're smart, you go to bed. But what do a lot of kids do? They get online and stream. They get on Twitch or they go wherever and they stream. They get 4 hours of sleep and then they get up and do it all over again. That's your life. You don't have time for a part-time job anymore. Most guys, even during the summer, like if you're trying to be an NFL quarterback, you're not going to work at McDonald's. You're going to work at Tom House's throwing camp.
Yeah.
It's not what it used to be. It truly is not what it used to be.
Now.
Eric and Raleigh, college athletics is dead. We are in the semi-pro era now. College athletics is not dead. I think, is it semi-pro? Okay, great. The garden variety college football player is never going to sniff a paycheck in the pros. They're just not. There's not enough spots, and they're not good enough. And those kids are there to get an education. Do you purposefully play football at Stanford? You do because you want the education. You don't go to Stanford because it's the easy route. You don't go to Notre Dame because it's the easy route. Do you know how hard it is to academically achieve at BYU?
Look at McCaffrey, bro.
Man.
Double, Achilles tendonitis, bilateral Achilles tendonitis. Like, this is somebody who is a dominant back in the league, but also has an education and he's set up for after football. Like, I think a lot of people just like say, oh, well, Monty, he's a football player. He can go and do a job. He doesn't have to go to class, but that's just not how it works.
I think people don't understand how difficult it is to be elite at anything. To be an elite truck driver, to be an elite heavy equipment operator, an elite lawyer, an elite doctor. Those guys aren't sitting around eating bonbons and playing video games at night. If you want to be elite, I feel like I say this every day the last couple of weeks. You don't have a choice. It takes what it takes. As Nick Saban says, It takes what it takes. And a lot of times what it takes is you don't have a personal life outside of your football circle or your softball circle or your track and field circle. Because think about it this way. Do you really think linebackers at Georgia are like, yeah, let's go to Waffle House every single night? No, they don't, because they can't eat that way and be high-level athletes. Or you turn into Jameis Winston, or you turn into whoever you want to point to, right? The Eddie Lacy. You turn into Eddie Lacy.
Yeah.
And the former Alabama running back. Like, I'm not telling you it's the worst life in the world. It's not easy, though. It really is not. Hillbilly Skeptic. Could colleges lend their logos and programs to private leagues of paid players who don't go to school? No. They cannot. I think the bedrock of this ruling protects the NCAA. And I think when you look at where we go in a super league, there's two real questions out of this lawsuit. Number one, how are you as the NCAA going to prevent yourself from continuously getting sued? Because we're going to get a mountain of Title IX lawsuits out of this settlement, because there's nothing that addresses Title IX in this settlement, one way or the other. Nothing. So keep that in mind. And then I would also say, I think it's very curious. What will the management structure of the College Football Super League look like? Those are two hugely unanswered questions, because if you are the Super League, you won't be under the NCAA umbrella anymore. So you're going to have a management structure that, oh, yeah, that's right, you're going to have to pay them, and it's going to cost you more money. But you're also going to have a commissioner, Greg Sankey, and you're going to have people below him. Like, what does that look like, and who is that? I think that's a very big question. A big question. Sal Capone, just give me my money.
Yeah.
How did you guys lose that game? I don't understand how T-Mac and the Fighting Fafitas lost again. How do you go beat Utah and then just absolutely lay an egg?
Yeah, because Utah didn't play well.
I have no idea. If Arizona doesn't make it in the Super League, Guess got to get a team that is in. You'll make it. You'll make it. Trust me.
Just don't make any more of those, decimal point mistakes,
Hey, carry the 2 next time.
Yeah,
For those of you who don't know, what was $121 million? So Arizona, the University of Arizona, and Capone, correct me if I'm wrong, Arizona was using their cash on hand to pay for their athletics during the pandemic, because they lost things like ticket sales. Their booster donations were low. They weren't obviously generating concessions, all those things.
Yeah.
So they were using cash on hand. Like, hey, he take my debit card, bud. And then somebody made an accounting error to the tune of $121 million. Forgot to carry the 2, huh? Like, that's terrifying. First of all, how are you using your daily cash on hand to pay for athletics? That's crazy to me. Instead of having a budget, a pot of money set aside, okay, well, athletics comes out of this account. You were using the university's daily cash on hand to pay for athletics. Ooh, that's terrifying right there. Hoffman, force the schools to pay tax. Why would you punish students for this? You wouldn't do that. I think there is a natural reaction, and I get it. I think there is a natural reaction for people to want to be, the word is punitive, but to punish the NCAA, these universities that make up the NCAA, the kids, the coaches, like
everybody under the sun,
to punish people because they're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's no reason to tax and make education less available to the garden variety student who goes to games. They don't play games. Because that's all you're doing. Monty, I'm talking about tax and athletics. Yeah, right. When you take money out of one pot, where do you think they're going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to take it from another pot to refill that pot. Do you think they're just going to cut $21.5 million checks every year and not recoup that revenue sharing money? Come on, guy. They're going to replenish that with branding, advertising, higher. You're going to pay more for beer now at all these schools that, oh, that's right, they're selling beer to recoup their money that they're putting out.
Right.
You're going to pay you. Do you know how much that Tackle Tool sweatshirt you're going to wear in October is going to cost you at the bookstore at Harvard now? It's going to be significantly more. So there's no reason to punish people in this. There just is. There's not. Boyd Lake, can you share revenue that's not there? No, you can't, which is why I think a ton of universities are going to opt out, in my opinion. A ton. DK for $5. I know we're talking about sports, but prayers up for those in the path of Hurricane Milton.
Bro, you're talking about a hurricane that's one of the most damaging on record.
Do you guys understand that the most powerful hurricane is a Category 5? They're talking about this storm being so powerful, they're contemplating creating a Category 6. The water in the Gulf is so warm. Because remember, this is not coming from the Atlantic. This is coming from the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to scrape the Yucatan Peninsula. And tomorrow morning, it's going to make landfall. They're talking about 17 to 22-foot wave storm surges. The most water ever produced by a hurricane. And people are like, no, I'm just going to chill right here and drink a Corona on the beach.
Yeah, I saw a guy.
Please leave.
I saw a guy yesterday on Twitter who has more of a science background, not so much meteorology, not so much weather, but just more science. And he's evaluating this hurricane, and he came to the conclusion that this hurricane is almost at the limit of, I guess, what Earth's atmosphere can produce for a hurricane. Like, this is pushing the boundaries.
Look at that thing.
Like, this is covering almost the entire Gulf of Mexico at this point.
And it is so powerful that I was watching ABC News, I believe it was last night, or 2 nights ago maybe. I don't remember. I was watching somewhere where a Weather Channel guy, a guy from the Weather Channel came on, and he said, we don't know if we have the tools to measure this. They don't know if they have the tools to measure the goddamn hurricane because it's so big.
And they're also saying that this hurricane is so strong. It was previously thought that the eye of the hurricane was going to, because when a hurricane makes landfall, the eye of the storm collapses, which causes the storm to fold and dissipate, essentially. They're saying that because the panhandle of Florida is obviously not very wide, that the eye of the storm, because this thing is so big, is not going to collapse. It's going to go right through Florida and just go out to the Atlantic and fizzle out. And that's just bad news for anybody in Florida.
They are saying from the National Weather Service, this is nothing short of astronomical. Their lead forecaster, quote, I am at a loss for words to meteorologically describe to you the storm's small eye in intensity. 180 mile an hour maximum sustained winds with gusts well over 200 miles an hour. The 4th strongest hurricane ever recorded. And this was yesterday at 6:14 Eastern time.
Look at the bottom part. Maybe this was the guy I was looking at. Look at that bottom part. The mathematical limit.
This is now the 4th strongest storm ever. The eye is tiny at nearly 3.8 miles wide. This hurricane is nearing the mathematical limit of what Earth's atmosphere over this ocean water can produce. I'm begging you, if you are in Florida, leave. Please don't go hero on me.
Yeah, the mayor of Tampa Bay yesterday goes on all the news networks, CNN, Fox, all of them, and basically says, if you live in Florida and you don't leave, you're going to die. Like, literally, that's what she said.
And I'm only talking about this at length because we have a huge following in Florida. From Orlando Tampa, St. Pete, everything in the path of this storm is one of the biggest markets on this show. And I'm just asking you, please leave. Please go. They're telling people the safest thing to do is to go north. Go north. Because they're saying this storm is so powerful. Usually when a hurricane comes in on one side or the other, you can go to the other side, the opposite side. In this case, you go to the Atlantic coast. You can't do that with this storm because it's so massive.
Yeah.
I'm begging you to leave. Maury Alvarez, a member of the show for 21 months. By the way, an Orlando resident, Maury Alvarez, spending the day helping people in Tampa evacuate. The terror on the roads in Florida.
Maury, what's your plan, bro? You live there. This is your home, man.
Yeah.
Are you evacuating? I mean, I know you said you're helping people evacuate, but are you and the kids and everyone evacuating, or what's kind of the
because
plan,
Maury's got kids and a family, and
he posted in our members only group a picture of all he'd cleaned out his garage and put his cars inside, but I mean, I'm trying to fathom, and I know we're talking football, but this is historical in nature, and I think is worth our time. I'm trying to fathom. You live in Florida. You own a home in Florida, and they're saying 17 feet of storm surge, bro. Like that. You're talking about storm surge taller than your garage. Like I don't know how you deal with that.
Fort Myers, Daytona Beach. I mean, it is, and that's only if it stays on the projected course. And they're talking about this thing. Hopefully it makes landfall at no more than a 3, but the possibility is it could be a category 4 hurricane in Tampa Bay, Florida. If that happens, I really hope it doesn't. But anyway, I wish you all nothing but the best. Please leave. Please. And I see so many people going south. I know a ton of people are headed for the Keys in Miami. Please be careful. The roads are already.
Yeah.
Kuz's Corner. Some are saying it may be more dangerous to leave at this point because you could get stuck on the highway. There's so many people I was watching this morning. I woke up really early today. It was weird. I was awake at 3:20 this morning. I usually get out of bed at 4:20. My alarm goes off at 4:05. I usually read and then get out of bed at 4:20. I was awake at 3:20 today. And I'm laying in bed looking at this stuff in the videos of the traffic in Central Florida trying to get away from this storm. You're out of time is the truth. And I think that's what you're saying here. You're out of time. Maury Alvarez, I am inland and my home is rated for Cat 5 winds. I am far enough inland that I will not see storm surge. Well, thankful for that.
Well, and that's something I guess maybe I hadn't considered either. Like in Florida, if you live in Florida, I guess you're, outfitting your home to make it stronger. That's smart. I mean,
there's just, and this is another one. Hurricane Helene just came through, a week ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's another one. you guys, please be careful.
Yeah, be careful, bro.
Today is the last day for advised leaving for far. Yeah, it's tough times, man. We wish you, if we can be a distraction, I appreciate you being here. Eric and Raleigh, forgive me for making light. Oh boy. But the Rays might need a new stadium after this hurricane.
But I don't. They're using it as a evacuation center or whatever.
Yes,
as like
it is full of beds and cots. It's a refuge.
Yeah, man. I hope that built I don't know. I just don't trust. Like I saw a news video yesterday talking about how Tampa Bay General, the hospital, they're outfitting it with like this water wall protection thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I just it's crazy to think about the fact that it's not just that it's raining on you or that it's windy. Like the ocean's coming for you, man. Like I that's got to be insanely intimidating.
And I don't even think we're in the heart of hurricane season yet. And we've already had 2 massive storms. San Diego State, Glenn, Hurricane Irma was 185 miles sustained wind. I helped out in the recovery and saw the devastation, which is massive to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Thankfully, this is north of Cuba, Haiti, the Bahamas, the Keys. Can you imagine 200 mile an hour sustained winds going through Cuba, Haiti, Bahamas?
Yeah, their homes are not rated for Cat 5. I can tell you that.
Can you imagine that?
I mean, that's devastation, bro.
TJ, I've been through a couple of hurricanes when I was in the Marines at Camp Lejeune. Only thing scarier is a tornado. Ooh. Eric and Raleigh, that's a soft roof on that dome. The Superdome is no fail with a solid roof. Well, yeah, and look what Katrina did. Maury Alvarez, we are in the last month of hurricane season. There you go. And I guess
but
we're
I
finishing
wonder
strong.
too, Maury, like, being a Florida resident, do you feel like hurricane season is expanding? Like it's getting longer? Because I think there's been some talk about that too, that it is getting extended.
Yeah, I hope not. I would love to live in Florida. I just can't. My wife would never do it.
No.
Never do it. Laura Weiss, good morning, Laura. Good to see you. Pew, pew. Living on the edge in Lubbock. I have family in the Orlando area. They are ready, but said night hurricanes are brutal. Thinking about all Floridians. Can you imagine that thing coming through at night?
Yeah,
Man, I can't imagine it. Big Blue Horses, mid-August through late October is considered peak hurricane season. Round about the end of September is officially peak of hurricane season. Maury Alvarez, Clearwater is evacuating and moving all senior citizens and hospitals inland. Let's hope. Eric and Raleigh. As it stays warmer longer, hurricane season now runs through November.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like we do get those November storms still. Like, it is extending. And
yeah, it's brutal. Lopes fan Gabe, Trop is right on the water. Yes, it is. Are people going to kayak there for an emergency shelter? Sheesh.
That's what I'm saying. I appreciate their efforts, but I just don't know that it's viable.
I don't think it. The years I spent in spring training in Florida, I love it. I love Florida. I don't love the humidity, but I do love Florida. And Lopes fan Gabe is right. Like Tampa is not ideal for a hurricane. I don't know how it survives. I truly do not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like when I was there for the Super Bowl, we were all talking about, my God, man, like if I don't know where you go because there's destruction everywhere because Helene just came through.
Yeah.
I don't know where you go. Anyway, I appreciate everybody contributing on that conversation. I know it's not what we generally do here. But I think it is a historic storm. This show, as always, is presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. Who's the best team and who is the worst team in the NFL? We'll tell you that in 15 seconds.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. You deserve an advocate.
The Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, where you never reach into your pocket to pay the advocates. You don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case. So no matter where you're listening to this show, if you've been injured in an accident, if you got hurt at work, get to theadvocates.com, chat with an injury attorney live online for free, 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. Let's get into NFL power rankings. What has surprised you guys to kick off the NFL season here? We've got 5 weeks in the books. I'm surprised. Like there are a couple of storylines in the NFL that is really surprising to me. Just how bad the San Francisco 49ers have been. And I think the 49ers are a really compelling case because there's a lot of people calling for Brock Purdy to not be their quarterback, calling for Kyle Shanahan not to be the head coach of the 49ers. Have we turned as football fans into this society that the first thing we do, knee-jerk, fire the head coach, trade the quarterback? Is that who we are as football fans now?
Yes, it is.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think fire everybody, cut everybody, burn it to the ground guy is the easy button. That's like that. It takes no perspective or thought or critical thinking to say, yeah, we should fire everybody. Bench the starting quarterback. Like that's an easy out. Like when what you should be saying is, hey, we're in a window in time when our team is really good and our team is decimated by injury this year. It's an off year. It's okay to have an off year, man. It's okay. Like, you never hear about 7-peats. Like, nobody said, oh, Tom Brady won 7 in a row. That's not what he's given all that credit for. What is he giving credit for? Hey, you won 7 times in a 20-year career, and you were in the playoffs multiple times outside of that. Like, you don't have to win the Super Bowl every single year, man.
Yeah, and I'm not, as you guys, we talk about this with Mike Gundy all the time. We talk about this with Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland all the time. I am not fire the coach guy. I think that is reserved for the most egregious of situations. Is Kyle Shanahan the most egregious situation in the NFL?
No.
And I was watching Larry Krueger on YouTube last night, the Bay Area sports guy. Used to work with Larry at the great KMBR 680 in San Francisco, and he does a YouTube show. And it is incredible to me that we have San Francisco 49er fans calling for Kyle Shanahan's job. That's wild to me. I look across this league. There are some surprising situations. Doug Peterson being this bad in Jacksonville, still, that's surprising to me. Am I calling for him to be fired? No, give him time. Develop your quarterback. You'll be fine. Are we talking about, blowing up the situation with the Cincinnati Bengals, and is Joe Burrow the worst quarterback ever? Well, they're 1-4, but their problem is they've given up the second most points in the NFL on defense.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't talk about the defense. We'll talk about Joe Burrow. The things that surprise me in the NFL right now, frankly, is the Pittsburgh Steelers being 3-2 with that quarterback situation. I think Justin Fields is one of the better stories in the NFL, and the Steelers looking competent. Now, I say that and they've lost 2 in a row.
Right.
But being 3-2 and in the playoff hunt in the AFC, pretty impressive. I think there are some interesting storylines. Like, look at the Jets. I know I'm not a smart man. I thought the Jets were going to contend at the top of the AFC.
Well, you and everybody else. Like, I think everybody said, hey, the Jets are going to be this amazing team. But what's the lesson to be learned here? Whether we're talking about the NBA and free agents and new talent getting put together, we're talking about the NFL. I don't care who you are. You're not just going to walk on the field for the first time and be all world.
Oh, boy. I'm not saying that I am a soothsayer. Let me go back. What's the right graphic for this one? Is this where the College Football Super League is born? Ross Snellinger, Yahoo Sports exclusive. A group of investors and ex-Disney executives have met with ADs at 30 power schools with a pitch. $9 billion in cash for a 70-school football super league. I'm a head out. All
right, we're retiring on that. Do you want to go get some breakfast or what do you want to do?
Bro, you can't make this up.
Literally.
Looming over the SEC and Big Ten meetings is Project Rudy. The claim is everyone will be saved.
Project Rudy?
And this is just breaking right now. A buddy of mine texted this to me. A Super League concept looms that could radically alter college sports.
Okay.
Come on. Do I get my flowers for this one?
Do we at least get some credit, bro? We've been telling you this is coming for how
No,
long?
It's not, Monty.
No, you don't have sources. You don't watch football. You don't know anything about anything.
Fire Ross Dellinger and Kyle Shanahan.
This is a Big Ten show.
The SEC and the Big Ten leaders prepare to meet this week. And actually, that meeting is tomorrow and Thursday in Nashville for a historic summit. Spearheaded by the former Disney executive turned investment professional, Project Rudy is a super league concept, separate and more simplified than the one most made public last week, that incorporates football programs of 4 power conferences in a 70-team structure. I think I said a half an hour ago, 60 to 80. All right, I'll meet you in the middle at 70. The model preserves the 4 power conferences, expands the postseason, overhauls scheduling, tiers revenue distribution, and most importantly, infuses as much as $9 billion of private capital into the system.
So let me give you the simpleton English term here. Let me make this really simple for you. We're going to take the power conferences and we're going to put them in one big pot. And we're going to open up scheduling flexibility, and we're going to get $9 billion of cash infused into this thing to make it the best it can possibly be. And through that process, every single week, we're going to get great matchups. Every single week, we're going to get big time games that are essentially made for TV matchups. And through that process, this Super League is going to play its own national championship. This Super League is going to have a never before seen streamlined partnership with TV executives. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was, obviously it's going to be ESPN, but then I wouldn't be surprised if Fox and CBS and whoever can afford it will get on board with this.
Yes, I would agree.
And you're going to see a massive effort to collaborate on multiple levels. So not only did Greg Sankey just become the most powerful figure 10 times over in college football, because he's running this thing, I guarantee it, number one. Number two, all the power conferences are going to work together to create schedules that are made for TV matchups. Then all the TV executives are going to get together and they're going to say, okay, cool. So ESPN's paying this percentage of the $9 billion. So they're going to get this slate of games over the course of a season. Fox is paying this percentage. CBS is paying this percentage. And this is how we're going to put it all on TV. After the Super League is finalized, in my opinion, like once all those details and all that minutia is hammered out and we've got a full picture of what we're looking at, only then will we start to be able to move on to the conversation of, hey, what is the G5 going to do? Hey, what are all the FCS level schools going to do? And I'm telling you, this is exactly the process that we've been explaining and telling you is coming for, I don't know, at least 10 months. I can go back and it's all on the channel, but I think we're nearing a year of being the first ones to say a Super League is coming. And now the day has come where we're getting reporting on it that, hey, executives and the Power Four conferences are meeting. So one more thought on this, just to point this out. If you're a Pac-12 fan and everything that's gone down went down last year, I would be incredibly upset if I were you, because the Pac-12 conference had an opportunity to be right in the middle of this thing and had an opportunity to fill that West Coast window as far as the Super League is concerned and completely fumbled this thing. And now you're going to make it so that the Big Ten and the SEC can control the entire narrative. And I'm curious how that'll play out inside of the bigger picture.
Well, I think this is exactly what college football needs now, because it is not sustainable financially with this settlement that we've been talking about. And Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports is reporting that a $9 billion cash infusion is being shopped to the Power Four leadership in the form of a 70-team Super League for college football. And I can only tell you, I'm waiting for a text return, but I've been texting now with a bunch of people that I've talked to about this. The last Super League conversation I had was Thursday, and I was told last Thursday that this settlement is going to push the Super League forward in a much more expedited fashion, a much quicker fashion.
Yep.
And I think you're going to see this Super League play out after this season and next season. I think that third season ahead is when you'll see this Super League happen, which is why, to your point, I don't think we're going to see huge adjustments. Again, I think it's why you're going to see the ACC is going to settle and hang on, because there is no lever to pull now to destroy a conference like the ACC, knowing that this settlement so dramatically increased the urgency for a Super League solution in private money in college athletics. And I guarantee you that the first thing you're going to hear is, well, this is not professional sports. Well, guess what? It's been professional sports for probably 10 years.
And I just think if you're somebody who is crying wolf about this being professional sports, you're missing the point here. You're missing the boat, man. Like, cool, it's professional sports. All right, great, awesome. Here's your sticker. Awesome, that's great. Nobody cares about that angle of it. What we care about is, hey, we're getting made for TV games. We're getting much more. The word I would use is efficiency in college football. Like I feel like we've had so many snags and hurdles and, expansion, retraction, it's realignment. Like there's all this moving parts, and it just is so unnecessary because we have a clear separation of powers. You've got the power conferences, you've got the group of five. Like, hey, power conferences, get together, make more money, go do your thing, get the hell out of here, go do what you're going to do, and let the group of five figure it out for themselves.
And I think about rivalry games in college football. Think about what an Apple Cup could mean now. Think about what a BYU Utah Holy War could mean now. Think about what Ohio State and Michigan could mean now.
Texas and Oklahoma.
What would that game look? What if Texas beats Oklahoma and Oklahoma misses the playoffs by a game? If we just won one more game. And if you have a rivalry week, which I think you're going to have to, at the end of a football season, because what our sources have told us, and I've said this for months and months now, college football is going to go to a super league where you are going to have your playoffs be in I think you'll see those playoffs will start in late December. They'll run through January, and the college football championship game will be on the Saturday immediately before Super Bowl Sunday. So you'll have the college football championship on Saturday, and then the next day you'll have Super Bowl Sunday. Made for TV. And what happens when TV really likes it? They pay a lot more money for it.
Yep.
Which helps you offset a $2.5 billion NIL settlement, settle Title IX lawsuits, settle all of these, because this NIL settlement is not the end. It's just the beginning.
Yes.
There are going to be, I think, many, many more lawsuits.
Facts.
And they've got to have money to pay for that. And again, Ross Stellinger at Yahoo Sports is reporting that a $9 billion cash injection is available to college football at the highest levels. Who's saying no to that?
Nobody.
Well, the FCS is going to say no to that. I think you're going to see the G5 a lot of G5 teams are going to say no to that. And again, I'll ask the pro rata we deserve. If you're in San Diego this morning, can you afford to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more to compete in college football? I don't know. Let's see what the payday is.
Yeah, I just think that this is a very cut and dry answer for most schools. Like you're either in the camp where you've been making money, you knew this was coming down the pipe, you had the intel, you've been preparing, and you're ready to go, or you're somebody who doesn't compete and isn't relevant in college football, and this is not available to you, and it shouldn't be available to you, quite frankly. Like if you haven't been competing and you don't have the money, why should this be available to you? With all due respect, like San Diego State's a great example. This Super League should not be available at San Diego State. I'm sorry. You're not relevant in football. You are a group of five level team in school, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's where we have to draw the line in the sand. Folks are going to get upset and get salty and be, all in their feels about, well, Boise State. Does Boise State, even with all they're doing in football, even with the Heisman frontrunner, do they have the finances to get this done? Because I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
Even with corporate dollars like Albertsons, huge partnerships. It's going to be fascinating. I think there's a lot of conjecture in that. But can you imagine a 2-conference Super League with 6 divisions in each conference?
No more college football playoff committee?
Where, human beings off the field don't decide who's going to the championship, where games on the field matter again.
Because think about what the playoff really is. And this is a really interesting point. The playoff is only there. The playoff committee is only there to create made for television matchups. Hey, because that's what they're doing. Hey, who are the best teams versus who's going to give us the most ratings? That's a conversation they've been having.
Yeah. Very interesting. The first return text I get is from a former football player who says legacies and storylines are going to die in the Super League. You are going to lose great programs. And unfortunately, it's what needs to happen for the game to thrive and move forward. Very thoughtful. I think that's very true. You're going to have some shocking programs opt out. I think there is going to be, I don't think a single P4 program will opt out.
But I think that's why, and I don't disagree with that, but I think that's also why you need the secondary, the group of 5 level schools to come together and create their own thing. We need a group of 5 national championship series, or like whatever you want to call it.
Group of 5 non Super League universities, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Because I think you're going to see that there's going to be some schools that don't want to pay that money to compete.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine. I mean, you look at the bottom of who's the worst team in the Big 12. Does Baylor opt out? No, absolutely not.
Houston?
Houston's not going to opt out. I mean, most of these universities will not opt out, but I'm telling you, there's going to be some ones where you're like, well, damn. That's shocking that Georgia Tech doesn't want to be in a Super League, or that X program doesn't. And
UConn football.
And then I'm curious. Yeah, UConn's a very good example. I'm really curious who opts out and how it lands.
Yeah,
I am. All right, let's get to your comments. Breaking news again. Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, reporting a $9 billion cash injection as part of a college football super league has been presented and is going to continue to be presented to the leadership of P4 conferences. All of this in the middle of Big Ten SEC meetings that kick off tomorrow. I believe they're 2-day meetings, Wednesday and Thursday, to decide the path forward. I don't think there's any doubt. I don't think there is any doubt that we are seeing the end of college football as you know it. I don't think there's any doubt. Big Blue Horses, see, I told you so. Sincerely, Monty and Jake.
Yeah, you're damn right, dude. You're damn right, because we were the first ones who talked about this, and we got a ton of heat for it.
And I have no problem patting myself on the back when we're right and ignoring it when we're wrong. Okay. Aaron Wilson, America's favorite mail carrier. Let's go.
What's up, dude?
Aaron Wilson, I appreciate you being here, man. Always good to see you. Thank you for the Monty Show membership. Your thoughts. Here's some questions for you. Is a Super League good for college football? Do you believe it's going to happen? And does it bother you that college football is turning into professional football? Does that bother you? Your thoughts. Let's see. Richard Blue Gray. Okay. I'm waiting on the antitrust collusion lawsuit. Well, I don't believe that will happen.
Yeah, I just don't think that.
Because who's going to file that suit?
Yeah, I mean, where would that assumes that there's competition, like that there's. I don't think that's going to take place here.
Yeah. I think it is. Yeah, we'll see. Phil Venzer, Raiders want you fire everyone today, and we'll trade Devontae Adams. We'll find out. Certainly looking like they have a coaching problem. Keith Carl, the hacks on YouTube did it again. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Remember way back in the day, 5 years ago, when we were just the hacks on YouTube?
Yeah.
That was so fun. Mike Smith, I'm glad the Monty Show is the only one that talks about these issues before they happen.
I'm just saying, like, you can't get away from the fact that we've been out in front of this thing for how long? I mean, It's been legitimately, I think it is like 8 to 10 months. I'd have to go back and look at the channel, but I remember doing a Super League video or an upload, I think so this is October, I want to say like January, December-ish.
I think we were doing it. We were talking about a Super League. I vividly remember a conversation with a former conference commissioner who shall remain nameless a year ago when the Pac-12 situation started coming apart.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And you know what's interesting? Who remembers the interview with Greg Sankey from that Urban Meyer podcast the other day? Didn't he say,
I don't want to dumb down the Southeastern Conference to be part of some Super League notion with 70 teams that some people speculate would happen. They want to be us, and that's on them to figure it out, not on me to bring myself back to earth.
He said 70 teams.
So I think playing that clip today is really interesting now that this is breaking. When you think about the point
he said 70 teams.
Yeah. When you think about the point he's making there about 70 teams and not dumbing down the Southeastern Conference, what he's saying there is exactly what we're talking about right now. We're not going to find a way to carry the mail for fringe teams who can't financially afford this.
Opt out because we're not.
Opt out because we don't want the responsibility of paying your bills. Opt out now. Get the hell out of the way. That's what he's saying.
Why the Big 12 didn't add UConn football.
Yeah, and I have to say, initially when I heard that, I was like, man, that's an asshole thing to say. But now that you're thinking about it, it makes a lot of sense. Like, why would the SEC or anybody at that level get it, who's 100% surefire in a super league? Why would you want to be involved or have any type of responsibility directly or indirectly for helping, whatever fringe school example you want to use, get into the super league? I have to agree with them. He does have a responsibility to make sure the brand of the SEC doesn't get watered down through this process. And that can't happen.
I want to play this Greg Sankey bite again. Listen to what he says about 70 teams.
I don't want to dumb down the Southeastern Conference to be part of some Super League notion with 70 teams that some people speculate would happen. They want to be us, and that's on them to figure it out, not on me to bring myself back to earth.
The Triple Option podcast right there with Greg Sankey last week. That's not accidental. And I actually think it was Mike Smith who said that on this show when we played that bite last week.
What?
That wasn't accidental.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, Mike. If I'm putting you in a corner, I apologize. But it's not accidental.
But I love this concept and the conversation around, hey, the power conferences, have to be really careful about, who they let into this exclusive club of sorts. I mean, you can't, 70 is a very limiting number. I mean, we and I don't know if we still have the on-3 graphic, we may, from back in the day of the proposed teams in the Super League.
Right.
Yeah, right there. Right up a little bit. Keep going.
Right here.
Yeah, that graphic. So remember this graphic. We showed you guys this graphic ages ago. Look at the proposed. This is just a proposed. This is nothing official.
Andy Staples from On3.
This is all speculatory, right? This is nothing official. But this is an example of what you'd be looking at from a geographic standpoint of conferences. Look at the names in here, man.
That's very interesting. It is. That's how long we've been talking about this. And I think it's inevitable. I don't know how it's not. And I know there's a lot of football fans this morning that are not happy about this. And I want to get your comments in here. Roche, look at that. Gifting 5 Monty Show memberships.
Sorry, buddy. It was on the wrong page.
Way to go, Roche. Appreciate you. Good to see you. My friend Cam Rising. Kyle Whittingham said it yesterday. Anybody notice what Whit said? There is a thought process that this is Isaac Wilson's team now. And until Cam Rising's ready to play, what did you say? I don't want to talk about Cam Rising.
I don't want to hear about him, dude.
What did Kyle Whittingham say yesterday? There's a path that this is Isaac Wilson's team.
Well, because at some point, I'm sorry, Cam. I love your game, dude. When you're healthy, I love watching you play football. This is no disrespect. But the reality is, when you're a quarterback, you are either out there or it's not your team. If it's just 1 week, okay, cool. Hey,
this
Isaac,
is 5 weeks.
We're working on half the season here, dude. Isaac has stepped in, and I get it. He's been mediocre, but I agree with Whit. I'm done talking about Cam Rising. I'm done with Utah fan yesterday all over Twitter. Oh, well, he was just out for here, but now they're saying he's out till BYU. I'm done with that. Dude's out until he can prove he can throw a football. This is Isaac's team.
Does he play this weekend?
No.
I doubt it now.
No.
Because wouldn't he be cleared already?
Yeah, he's not playing this weekend.
Yeah. Harry Austin for $10. Harry, good to see you.
Yeah, bro. How are you?
How's life in San Antonio? My question, does the NFL get involved? Oh, I think they have to get involved. We know that the NFL wants to control the spotter of football. Is it possible that the NFL partners with the Super League? I think one of the things that's really important is that there is still a path for G5 talent to get to the NFL.
Yeah, because whether you like it or not, the G5 feeds the NFL at a really high level.
You cannot exclude those guys from things like the NFL Combine, the Senior Bowl, the important events where the top talent shows up. But what you're going to get now is, who's the number one? Shedeur Sanders. Let's say there was a Super League this year. Shedeur Sanders can't sit out bowl games. You're not walking away from those paydays, because my guess is there's going to be a revenue bonus the further you go in the Super League. Players are going to get paid to win games in the Super League.
As they should.
I agree. And there's going to be a financial incentive to play football in college and see it through to the very end. How would there not? Could you imagine Michael Penix not playing for Washington last year? Free Harbaugh not playing for Michigan last year? Could not imagine that. Right? I mean, those are the games that define your legacy. And now in the Super League, the money's going to be there to make sure that you do play.
Yeah.
You know what else it does? And I think the NFL wants this. It keeps kids in college longer. So when they get to the league, the exposure of the NFL owner to a first-round bust quarterback shrinks because they're getting more reps. They're putting out more tape. They're growing maturity-wise so that you don't get the huge bust, the Ryan Leaf-type bust out. You don't get the kid who can't compete.
Bryce Young.
You don't get the Bryce Young. They stay in college longer. And I think your fifth-year senior, I think the red shirt stuff, that's going to continue. That is going to continue. Absolutely. Yeah, this is Harry, I think you're exactly right. I think the NFL has a vested interest in making sure that they curate their talent pipeline.
Yeah.
Because without college football, where are you going to find NFL talent?
Well, and I also think the other part of the NFL's piece here is money. So the NFL is going through a wave where all these quarterbacks are getting paid absurd money. And I think something the NFL's got to be really careful with is these college players, don't care what position you play, but quarterbacks obviously are getting paid more than any other position in college. These quarterbacks are getting paid loads of money earlier.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're seeing private jet deals, car deals, straight up. Hey, here's a bag of money to wear this logo. Like these guys are getting money earlier on in their life. And when they get to the league, they expect more. Hey, I was making 10 a year at Colorado. I'm Shedeur Sanders. I damn well better get 50 or 60 because I'm in the league now. Like that's something the NFL's got to be careful with and got to figure out, because you're either going to have to change the structure of the salary cap, or something, because we're pushing $70 million a year for a quarterback. That doesn't work on anyone's P&L right now.
And I think it is really important to understand, and I want people to understand who we're talking about when we talk about this group Smash Capital. And we've talked about Smash on the show before. This is a group of dudes that have access to, I'm not going to say unlimited money because everybody's got a limit. But look at the dudes we're talking about. Look at the people that we are talking about in this situation. Eric Garland. He's been building and investing in tech that impacts media for 2 decades. Most recently, he led venture and growth deals for Walt Disney. Prior to Disney, Eric served as the executive vice president for Live Nation, which is one of the largest live event production companies on the planet. Web and mobile strategy. establish the corporate venture team and manage Live Nation's funds, the Live Nation Fund. You guys, do you understand who these people are? Do you understand that these people that we're talking about are people that, I mean, we're talking about guys like a guy named Kevin Mayer, who's a founding partner and managing director at Smash Capital. This is a guy that was in charge of companies like TikTok and COO of ByteDance, the parent company. Chairman at DAZN, which is still to this day one of the largest producers of fights and live events online. DAZN, if you don't know DAZN. Prior to TikTok, chairman of Disney Direct to Consumer and International, where he was responsible for launching, you guys might want to put your hands at 10 and 2, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu. Who are we talking about here, dudes? We're talking about guys that put big events on TV. And
Operators.
they've got $9 billion that they're offering to these people. I don't know how I can further explain to you that these are not small people. They're all Disney people. Evan Richter is another guy. He was on the at Disney. He was a member of the Disney corporate strategy and business development team, focused on, this is a critical word, disruptive innovation and investments in leading tech companies. Like that's wild to me. And he managed over $30 billion in the investment world. Brad Twigg. Over a period of more than 15 years, Brad has led, co-led, and served on investment teams that have made 50-plus investments into scaling technology companies with over $1.75 billion. All you have to do is go to smashcap.com. You can read all these bios. Smashcap.com.
Just telling you, man, the path is clear. The yellow brick road is laid out, and it's coming.
These are the people. These are the people.
Yeah.
That are, and it's very interesting. I want to read this quote from a TV source who just texted me this while I was reading that bio. These are not sharks in the water. They are the water.
Yeah.
They absolutely are the environment that makes it possible for the sharks to operate.
Yes.
So in my opinion, there's no doubt this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before.
I think we're long past whether it's going to happen.
I think so too.
It's going to happen. What we should be talking about is so anytime a new concept rolls up, right? Anytime a new idea is born, the first thing you have to understand is why. What is the reason that this needs to happen? What was the impetus for the first person in the room to say, yeah, we need some kind of super league. We need something to give the sport some juice. And the why is money.
Yeah.
That's why. So anytime someone needs more money, or a group or an institution or an organization needs more money, people put their heads together like these dudes we just showed you, and they get it done. So when you think about the guys we're talking about here are managing $30 billion in investments, do you really think that $9 billion of a cash injection is anything to them? Do you think that $9 billion is some massive number? Frankly, I don't even think they're worried about the $9 billion. I think $9 billion by investment funding terms is pennies. Honestly, if you look at it, $9 billion is a nice number for college football. It allows the sport to take this big step forward and really pushes things to the forefront. And for all these dudes at Smash Capital, bro, this is what they do. Like you go out and do your job. We go out and do a show. These guys are out here making investments on this level. So I just think we're way past, hey, is it going to happen? They're doing it. They're building it now.
They are the water.
Yeah.
And if you think about some of the companies that they have invested in, built, Blockchain.com, Epic Games. I mean, they don't invest in small things, folks. These are industry leading companies.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. They're not the sharks in the water. They are the water.
Yeah. They control it. They build it. They dominate it.
That's awesome. Yeah. How do you guys feel about this in the comments section? Are you happy? But does this feel good to you? It's exciting to me.
Yeah.
I am excited about this.
Well, I just think that again, like I just said, the sport of college football needs it. Like for so many reasons, not just because you got to pay for a settlement, not just because there's this huge discrepancy between, the power conferences and the group of five, let alone at the FCS level schools, like not just because of that discrepancy, but because I think as the sport goes, like typically fans don't matter, but when you start talking about a $9 billion investment in people watching football games,
and
fans matter,
big
dude.
matchups.
Yeah, fans matter from that standpoint.
They need you to book airfare, book hotels, go to the game, buy meals at restaurants, buy sweatshirts, concessions.
Yeah, we're going to need
tickets.
more 100,000 seat performances out of fans, and that's what this is about. And I just think it's as clear to me as it's ever been.
Yeah.
Now that we're understanding who's behind it, like, yes, they're the way it works in my head, the way I envision this is they're building the blueprint. They're sitting around a table and they're saying, okay, the objective is get a super league built. Okay, well, what are the factors? X, Y, and Z. Let's put it together. And that's all they're doing here. And the $9 billion piece, I'm telling you, that may seem like a lot of money, but to me, that's not what we should be focused on. Yes, the money is going to be there. Whether it's 9 or 100 or whatever, $9 billion is going to be there. We should be thinking about the structure they're putting together.
Yeah, it's very interesting, though. That's a good question. Where is the public investment fund?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do the Saudis get involved in a super league? I mean, their whole goal in Live Golf is to own a piece of American sports. If you're the super league, can you take a PIF investment? I don't know that you can't. Well, yeah, you can.
But should you? I mean, again, I don't want to go down the. I have some pretty strong feelings on the public investment fund and guys who took money versus didn't, and like, I don't want. I'll say this: I don't want the public investment fund involved in college football because I don't want college football or my enjoyment of watching that sport to be ruined by the fact that the Saudis are investing in it. I don't want that.
I think that is something to be very careful with. Thomas Reed, the proposed NCAA settlement put a $20 million a year cap on paying your players. It did not, actually.
Yeah, that's not correct.
That's not correct.
Yeah.
With a percentage increase every year. That's not. It's $21.5 million today is the revenue sharing. I believe it's 22%. Is the number. So the more you make, the more you share. The less you make, the less you share. It's not a percentage increase every year. It's 22%. And that is projected to be $21.5 million in revenue sharing.
And it's going to keep going up as things like the Super League.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree. Eric and Raleigh, just wait until they welcome the blood money oil from the Saudis.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, I don't enjoy talking about that angle of it. I have to say that, and I'll be honest, like it ruins the enjoyment of watching the game because you're watching something that is supported by those people. And it'll really be interesting. Bothers me, dude.
It'll be interesting. Joshua Mose, hello. This is the path to NIL regulation, the path to better on-field product. This is a win for me, even if it's a huge change.
Completely agree.
It is absolutely a management structure with NIL. The preliminary settlement, a judge yesterday preliminarily approved a settlement in the NIL lawsuit, the House NIL lawsuit. And it does put into place a management structure. So I think that's very true. The felon attorney, Oregon IRL. Once you started the playoffs and got rid of a very good BCS system, this was inevitable, but Disney or its proxies isn't going to lead it. Well, and I think Smash Capital is the...
I think it's strong to say
Mm,
Disney and its proxies aren't going to lead it.
I would agree.
I think that lacks perspective. I think you need to understand that Smash Capital is loaded with dudes who are
Alums of Disney.
yeah, alums of Disney, like have their relationships. So whether you want it to be or not, whether it is on paper or not, Disney, ESPN, ABC is at the front of this thing.
You don't get to where those guys at Smash Capital are without having relationships.
Yeah.
And
So-
I guarantee you, I haven't worked at ESPN in several years, and I still have a ton of friends there. When you work at that level, it almost changes your business DNA because you understand what high level achievement is about.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of people that need to embrace the fact that without ESPN, there is no Super League. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because ESPN has every tool that you need to thrive as a sports league. Certainly digital, direct to consumers coming, anything streaming, anything app, anything over the air. Like they have everything you need. And they have a distribution network with global reach, whether that is through the Disney platform where you're reaching young viewers and turning them into lifelong fans, whether it is reaching their parents who have that cash lying around to take their kid to Disney World while he wears a Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, Stanford, USC t-shirt. That's what this is about. That's what it's about. It is about an ecosystem that creates generational fan bases over and over again on automatic. Because when 10-year-old Jimmy becomes a Notre Dame fan, and then he grows into 25-year-old Jimmy with two kids, they're Notre Dame fans, and their kids are Notre Dame fans, and they hate Michigan, and it's how college football works.
And I also might point out with ESPN, they have the best broadcasting talent. So when game day goes to Cal, thousands upon thousands of people show up, which impacts the community. So ESPN not only has everything he just said, they also have the ability to say, hey, we impact the local communities where we're broadcasting.
Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are no longer coaching. Yeah, they work at ESPN.
Like, so with all due respect, man, I'm not trying to make it personal, but I just think that lacks a ton of perspective.
This makes so much sense. The fans across the country are going to like it better. I would agree with that. Let me. They cut people's heads off. Can't get the Saudis involved.
Saudi stooge.
Lopes fan Gabe, they cut people's heads off. I agree.
Saudi stooge.
I don't think you can have them involved, but there's going to be, if there hasn't been a conversation already, and they might run their money through somebody like Smash Capital.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you whitewash it. I don't know, but how are they not at least trying to get involved? So Eric and Raleigh, let's be real honest here. If the current infusion is at $9 billion, the Saudis can immediately double that investment to 18 without breaking a sweat. I think if you're publicly using the $9 million or $9 billion number, what is it really?
Yeah.
It's far more than $9 billion. You're not swimming with sharks. These are the people who are the water that make it possible for the sharks to exist.
Yeah, and I think to your point, they're acutely aware of how to manipulate the storyline.
Yes.
So if they're saying 9 now, 3 years from now, they're already projecting to 20. Like,
yeah, I agree. Well, you would have a monopoly problem with a Super League. You already have a monopoly problem. Does every team have access to the college football playoff? They don't. It's not, and we've had this argument on the show before, and I know most people disagree with me. A Super League's not different in execution than what the college football playoff is.
Yeah.
And the other problem is you're giving people an opportunity to take part in it.
Yeah, you're on paper expanding the window.
And you're going to opt out of it. So you opted out of it. How are you going to sue?
Yeah.
Now, you want to argue about unfair business practices? Maybe we have that conversation. Monopoly, I would disagree with that. I am not a lawyer, though. Being student athletes has limits, but NIL money has changed it and would be subject to antitrust laws. I don't believe that it would. I don't believe that it would. Because my guess is if you go to a super league, I don't believe that antitrust will be part of it. You would have to.
It's an optional thing. That's why it's optional.
Well, but would you're going to have to create a new entity, and would that entity have antitrust exemptions? I don't know. That's very interesting. We'll have to see how that plays out. Roche, the Saudi airline college football playoff, Emirates. UW fan Jim, the BCS was very good. Not in my opinion.
Yeah,
that was very limiting. But see, it's never good enough. And I think we as fans we're at this point where AI and computer models weren't good enough. Well, now we put humans in, and Florida State's pissed, and the governor's suing. It's never good enough. So now there can't be a formula other than, did you win enough games? Hey, did you win more games than Miami did? Okay, well, no, you didn't. Okay, you're out there in. It's the NFL model of getting into the playoffs or not. And I think you have to take all of the conjecture and people's opinions about, well, their quarterback's hurt. Can they get in? You got to take it out. SEC and Big 32 presented by the Public Investment Fund. That'd be tough.
Yeah.
That'd be tough. Please hit the like button. Only 61 likes. 63 likes on 2,000 views is not ideal. So yes, please hit the like button. Oh boy, another Georgia player arrested. Another Georgia player arrested. Chip Towers from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Georgia wide receiver Colby Young accused of assaulting an.
What are we doing?
You're making my head hurt. Oh, it gets worse. Colby Young accused of assaulting an unborn child and battery. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that time as a college football player, because that's over with. How does Georgia have so many guys in trouble?
Because Kirby Smart doesn't prioritize keeping his dudes out of trouble.
It's wild.
Puts it on the collective, which is insane to me.
Yep. Eric and Raleigh, why do you think Disney, ESPN, ABC work so hard to get the SEC away from CBS?
Yeah.
It's a relationship. It is a relationship. Big Daddy Magic. Hey, players, Saudi Arabia is not your friend. They are worldwide leaders in blood money.
First of all, I'm impressed that you commented something other than Josh Allen or Victor's the best thing ever since
because
sliced bread,
he
dude.
got his Victor Wembanyama bomb off on Instagram. Big Daddy Magic is a massive Victor Wembanyama fan, and he sent me a message last night. Hey, playa, Victor didn't play.
Victor's the way.
I saw that. Him and CP3 were on the bench together. Tanner Plummer. Don't you mean Notre Dame fans? Exactly. Notre Dame. I was never a Notre Dame fan.
Okay, why are we talking about Notre Dame right now?
No idea. Because probably taking shots at me.
Okay.
I'm a proud Notre Dame fan. The awkward guy. I don't know. Joe Klatt is fantastic for Fox.
Not better, dude. He's. I'll be honest with you. I don't enjoy Fox's talent more than I enjoy ESPN.
I like Joel Klatt on games. I don't like Joel Klatt talking about games. Go be the best color analyst in the business. We've had the Fox Sports discussion in the past. It makes me crazy that ESPN and CBS are far more compelling to me. And I don't really watch that much ESPN. During the day, when I'm working, I have YouTube TV on an iPad that sits next to me. And I am generally watching something news. The talking head shows have lost me. And Cowherd is right there. He just, I don't know about that. Tanner Plummer. I don't think you guys understand. They cut people's heads off. We do understand.
We get it.
We get it. Fat Old Mormon and Dying. The college football playoff brought to you by MBS. No. Come on now. Old White. Notre Dame, your mom has to join the super conference. Yeah, does this finally get Notre Dame into a conference? As a Notre Dame fan, I wish they would join the Big Ten. But, it is what it is. The felon attorney. Hey, why wasn't Sacramento State in the Super League? Because the Super League doesn't exist yet. And they're likely going to opt out of it.
Yeah.
So, I would assume. The awkward guy. So the Super League is football only or all sports? Football only.
Yeah.
The structure of the Super League is, and if you guys are just tuning in, we have breaking news this morning. Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports is reporting a Super League model is being shopped to P4 leadership that includes $9 billion of cash infusion. A Super League would be football only. The SEC conference would still exist for everything but football, because you'd have this Super League, this different entity, and college football would be managed as its own entity. So, yeah, they would stay together. A couple more, because then we got to get to the NFL. The stadium guy, James. Young dudes with fast cars equal trouble. Kirby doesn't understand this. That's rough. Yes, the awkward guy. Is Georgia just smelling you at this point? It really is. It really, really is. I mean, it's incredible. I am just amazed by it. Brandon Bailey. Okay.
What is that, dude? Like,
are we supposed to know what that means? Because you keep commenting it. So are we supposed to know what that means,
dude?
I don't know. I have no idea what that means. Jimmy Otson, Notre Dame would crush it in a G5 playoff. They would. Probably not. Bradley Dunkel. What up, Jeffrey? Steel Reserves.
Hey, Dunkel.
Hey, Dunkel. Hey, Utahns. Tonight is the night. Let's go Blackhawks. Be that as it is, I hope the hockey club does well this year.
Don't get me started, dude.
Different show. Bradley Dunkel. Georgia has culture issues for sure. 100%. 100%. 100%. Bradley Dunkel. Bradley Dunkel.
Sorry, bro. You just have a perfect name for it. Like,
you
legit.
do. Real quick before we get to the NFL, can we talk about ESPN FPI? Because people are losing their minds over this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know what ESPN FPI is? Let me show you the graphic first so you can get all pissed off. ESPN's FPI is on the left. The AP poll is on the right. The soccer writers poll. I mean, they look exactly the same to me. People are really pissed about ESPN. And here's the problem. Nobody's like, well, I wonder what the FPI is. How do they calculate this thing? And the obvious differences are, I don't know, 3, 4, and 5. Alabama 3rd in the FPI after losing to Vandy. Georgia 4th. Ole Miss 5th. Tennessee 6th. The beloved number 7. They're not number 77. Like, people are pissed about this. Do you guys know what ESPN's FPI is? No, Monty, I know that they're trying to get better TV ratings, and that's why they have Alabama number 3. I hate ESPN, Marty. I get it. You hate ESPN.
It's Garbo, Monty.
I'm tired of those frauds at Disney charging so much for Hulu.
Because it's garbage.
I just want to watch Cheers reruns. Where's MASH? Go scream at the wind. I totally
Good.
You guys understand that ESPN FPI is not a ranking of who are the best teams in the country
Well,
today.
but Monty, it says top 25 on the
But
graphic.
Marty,
What do you
that's
mean?
not what it says. Look at it. Look at it, Marty.
I'm sorry if you're offended by that.
God damn it, Martin. The ranking on the right, the AP soccer writers poll, that is who are the 25 best teams in this order in the country today.
Right.
ESPN FPI is a measure of a team's strength that is meant to be the best predictor of a team's performance going forward for the rest of the season. It's not who are the 25 best teams today.
Schemers trying to control their little worlds.
The graphic on the left is who do we think will be the top 5 teams, and really in this case, the top 12 teams at the end of the season.
But Monty, they've got Georgia at number 4. What are you talking about?
We're predicting how the rest of the season will play out into the future. Marty, you're just biased against it. You don't like the P5. There's no such thing as a P5. I meant G5, and you know goddamn well what I meant.
You're a homer is the first part.
The battle on Twitter yesterday, and Tanner Plummer was part of this. Tanner Plummer yesterday, and I don't know if I have so many notifications over this post. I don't know if I can find them. Tanner Plummer, 5-0 BYU doesn't get into the top 25 after wins over ranked SMU and ranked K-State. Okay. You really think they're going to be number 5 in the country at the end of the year?
Hot ass.
Super soaker. Yeah, does BYU belong in the top 25 right now today? Yes. Yes, they do. At the end of the season, do we believe that BYU will be one of the 25 best teams? Well, apparently AI and the computer models that make up the ESPN FPI do not.
No.
Is there anybody who thinks that those top 12 teams right there are going to be different? Because I think probably in some different order that doesn't include Texas A&M, because my guess is idiot Brian Kelly at LSU will accidentally win games and wind up in the top 12. But this is not like a Marty, you're making it personal. I'm not making it personal. It's not a personal attack against your mom.
Because it's all part of the plan.
It's a computer-generated model.
Monty, you agree with the model that says Georgia's number 4 in the country. What the hell?
You're just jealous. You want to kiss their ass and go work at ESPN. Got that guy yesterday on Twitter, too.
Yeah, you're SEC
jealous.
show.
If you weren't such an SEC show, you wouldn't agree with the FPI. Because it's not today.
It is what it is.
You guys get so mad over it. You get so mad. Troy, go Buckeyes, go. Nice to see some Buckeyes in here. Go Buckeyes. Well, you guys are only here because A, I hate Michigan, and B, this game this weekend.
Don't mess it up.
Troy, I will smack the Buckeye out your mouth if they lose this game this weekend. Because I am telling you now that you're favored by 3 points on the road at Autzen on a 52.5-point number is a little troublesome for me.
Yeah, that's called a pick'em, sir.
Because my opinion is that Ohio State's the best team in the country. And I know, who are you, ESPN FPI? Okay, I'm out. The point is,
yay!
Ohio State is, in my opinion, the best team in the country right now.
Well.
And I think Texas is a close second. If you're the best team in the country and you go to Autzen and you lose, I believe that I have the right to sit on Ryan Day's chest and shave his beard.
Who?
I'm sorry, Lloyd Carr and Carnet's chest and shave his beard.
Yes.
If you lose this game, Ryan Day, bro, don't do me like that. I believe Ryan Day's seat is hot at Ohio State, in my opinion. And nobody's talking about it because they're winning games. Watch what happens. Watch the pitchforks come out for him if they lose at Autzen this weekend.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it?
And tell me, Ohio State fan, and I know we have a crap ton of Ohio State fans on this show, but tell me again that you won't call for Ryan Day's beard if they lose this game. Because you and I both know you'll be right here in this comment section on Monday, losing your ever-loving mind. Troy says we'll be fine. Okay. Okay. I need this to be a great game. I am so jacked for this game. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Phenomenal Hebrew. I'll be pissed off if Tulane doesn't make a Super League and, quote, do nothing Mississippi State does. Do nothing Mississippi State. Mayor McCluskey, hello, my friend. Guys. If FPI were around in 1948... Listen, if FPI were around in 1948, with the top 10 in the... who would be top 10 in the East Coast, but only after their first time watching Star Wars?
Bruh.
And Nemo cruised down the I-10 corridor.
Well, Monty, before we had Upper Decks, the FBI was saying that Oklahoma State was the best team in the country. You know? I mean, what do you even do with that?
Oh, my God. Stop. Let's see. The awkward guy. They're eating Buckeyes. I'm telling you. Mike Smith, Jeff Johnson, the name you know. Not me, Jeff Johnson says. Yeah. WR, Ohio State wins. Excuse me, it's the. Ohio State wins. Oregon's recruiting class blows up. Has the luster come off of Dan Lanning now?
Yes. They have to prove they can win big games.
I think that's right.
Yes.
I think the luster's come off of Dan Lanning.
Yes, I think people respect Dan, and they feel like Oregon's a good, solid football team. But as far as them being like top 5, he doesn't have that. You're not getting that credit until you show that.
Because you look at some of the games this week. Obviously, big noon kickoff's going to be Arizona at BYU. Bama, South Carolina is not exactly a gimme now. I mean, I would expect it at BDS that Alabama would win.
Yeah, they can't just win that game. They need to roll South Carolina and put the haters to bed.
But is there any doubt that Texas and Oklahoma is the hors d'oeuvres for Ohio State and Oregon?
Wow.
I am, bro, I'm here for it. I think that is the game of the weekend. Ole Miss, LSU.
That's going to be an entertaining game, but that doesn't have the heat that Ohio State, Oregon does.
I'm here for it. I think that, and I know Boise State heads to, and I shouldn't joke about Boise State because Ashton Jeanty is going to win the Heisman Trophy. But you got to go to Honolulu. And some weird things happen over there on them islands. Don't take the rocks off the beach, kids. That's one I would be a little worried about.
Yeah.
This is one of those weeks where I need my guy Jeanty to just bulldoze people.
He will.
But all of that to say, bro, there's no other game this week. There is no other game this week. It is Oregon.
You're not golfing Saturday because you're watching college football, and it
huge
damn well
game.
deserves it.
It is a huge game.
Robert Salah fired by the Jets.
Wow.
Adam Schefter reporting that Salah got fired today. Dude.
What the flip-flop?
Bro.
No more Bobby Salah to kick around?
Bob, dude.
That is it. Okay.
Yeah, it's about damn time he got to the NFL.
Excuse
the
me.
layer.
I have to make a graphic now.
Yeah, hey, Bobby.
Hey, Bobby.
Bobby, pack your office, Slick.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out, Bobby.
Yeah, I think this has been coming for several weeks. I think that once you can start drawing comparisons to what Aaron Rodgers has done and Zach Wilson did, you're in trouble. And this team, with their cap situation and how much money they've spent, can't afford to have a 6-win season. That's just not you can't do that. And that's, they're not good. They're just not very good right now. And I don't know, who the interim's going to be. I'm assuming we'll get that here in a few minutes. Who the interim
Mr. Offensive Coordinator,
I guess. I mean, but really, Nathaniel Hackett's the guy you're going to put in as the interim because he's Aaron Rodgers' guy. I don't feel great about that. I mean, hell, isn't Nathaniel Hackett half the reason they're terrible? Right? I mean, he's the guy with the offensive scheme. He's the guy that was brought in because you brought in Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had to have him. I mean, I don't know. I don't
shocker.
Dude, I look at the Jets and I say, okay, Nathaniel Hackett has been underwhelming. Alan Lazard might want to learn to catch a football. Aaron Rodgers might want to lead your team a little more than you've been leading it.
Let's be very clear here. The New York Jets defense has not been good enough. Period. It is as plain and simple. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. An NFL guy I know texting me right now as this happened. They fired Salah because that defense couldn't carry an old lackluster Aaron Rodgers. That's exactly right. And I think you are looking at a situation now where you're not going to be able to just simply coast along anymore. It's not good enough when you're paying that kind of bread in the NFL that you are, wow. I mean, that is, and they have extra time. This is actually not terrible timing. Don't they play on Monday night this week? I think they play Monday night.
They play the Bills.
That's right. It is the Buffalo Bills, Jets Bills Monday night.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you did this. And let's be very clear.
Yeah.
That Aaron Rodgers and the struggles of that offense, you hired his offensive coordinator. You brought in his favored guys on offense. Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles tendon. Okay, we can make that excuse. That defense has not been good enough. And the culture in that building has not been good enough. And Robert Salah has not been good enough. And I am going to say it again. You don't hire defensive coordinators to be your head coach. They don't generally work out well.
Facts. I've seen it time and time again.
And and you can throw the Belichicks of the world at me. Great. There is an exception to every rule. And when you look at Andy Reid's an offensive genius with an elite quarterback.
How are they winning ball games, man?
And again, what's going on in Baltimore? Well, you're not winning. And are you winning because the defense isn't good enough? Or not winning? Are you losing and not winning Super Bowls because the defense isn't good enough? No. You have a defensive guy and you have a quarterback who's going through offensive coordinators, and you just made him one of the highest paid players in the history of the NFL, and you're not willing to say it. The offense is the problem in Baltimore. What's going on in Buffalo? You should have fired Sean McDermott, because you need an offensive guy to get the most out of that offense. And now your wide receiver looks pretty good in somebody else's uniform. And if you go to New York and you talk about why Robert Salah is no longer the head coach of the Jets, your defense isn't good enough, your culture sucks, and your star players are unhappy, excuse me.
Yeah.
That's why they fired Bobby Salah in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's surprising, on its face that he got fired. I mean, I think we could all see that was where we were headed here. I think it's a little surprising you got fired after, like, right in the middle of the season, just the timing of it, I think, is really interesting. Now, again, I have to say, I'm not pro Hackett taking over this job. He may step in as the interim, and that's fine.
You can't have him as the guy.
Yeah, he can't be your hire. I mean, you got to do better than that. And I think, again, the problem is that you're in a time where you're in the middle of the season. Finding a candidate right now, okay, so it's not good enough to have Bob Salah as your head coach anymore. But if they come out and make Hackett the guy for the rest of the year, let's say, that's a huge mistake. Now we're graduating to, hey, this is an ownership issue. Now I have to say, yep, you're screwing it up. But if you do Hackett as the interim, and then you go and find somebody, and maybe they've already got somebody, and that's why they fired Bob, okay, I'm cool with that. I'm good with, hey, we decided to fire Robert Salah this week because we've been working on another candidate to replace him. We've got that candidate lined up. Let's go ahead and get this done. I'm good with that. But let's see how they handle it. But ultimately, this was building. This has been building. You've seen it. You've seen the poor performance. And I'm going to keep pointing this out. Like, I know everyone today, your guys, your sources are saying, hey, this is the defense's fault. And I don't disagree. Hey, the defense hasn't been good enough. I don't disagree with that. But I'm not letting A-Rod off the hook for this. I'm not letting his inability to form a relationship with Garrett Wilson off the hook. I'm not letting his inability to lead his teammates in the offseason off the hook. This is somebody who was on recess or on vacation when camp was starting. Let's not forget that.
Well, I also think it's very interesting now you're looking at a situation where don't you have to go all in on Aaron Rodgers? Don't you have to do everything you can do right now? Because the defense is good enough to win you a Super Bowl. Do they get enough takeaways? They probably don't. Have you lost 3 of 5? You definitely have. You've got to go all in on offense. You've got to go all in on Aaron Rodgers. You've got to go all in on building an offense that's his offense. No, there's no other choice but to go with Hackett. As terrible as he was in Denver, I don't know what other choice you have, because that's Aaron Rodgers' football team, whether you want it to be or not. You don't make that kind of move. You don't make that kind of move. A, to bring in Aaron Rodgers, and then B, to fire Robert Salah without going all in one direction that you agreed on when you got all your heads in the room and said, we're going to fire Bob Salah, what are we going to do then?
Like, do you guys remember? Like, I agree with that. Do you remember the excuse, non-excuse absence thing at the beginning of the year? We all remember that, right? Like, Aaron was off in Egypt and we didn't know that. And Bob had, the Bob Salah had this awkward press conference talking about excuse, not excuse. Like, we all remember that. Like, this has been going on since before the season started. And this is why, like, when days like this happen, when the guys in the comments section asking me why I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy, this is why. It's not on Aaron Rodgers solely that Bob Salah got fired today. Bob has a lot of responsibility in that. The defense, the lack of cohesiveness, the poor play, that's all on Bob. 100%.
And the culture?
The culture, that's on Bob 100%. But what's not all on Bob is Aaron Rodgers' decisions to not help build culture, to not help lead his young wide receivers.
He tore his Achilles tendon 54 seconds, or I think it was whatever it was, into the season.
Yeah, you got busy taking the American flag out onto the field and lasted all of 54 seconds.
But what is Robert Salah's fault? Zach Wilson being absolute garbo.
Yes.
Not having a backup quarterback, not having an offense after Aaron went down, not having the culture to sustain that offense, players demanding trades, defenses falling apart. Like, I'm just going to continue to say it. There are coaches across this league who should be fired. I can go up and down the list of guys that should be fired. Robert Salah was at the top of that list. And no, Kyle Shanahan's not on that list.
No.
And no, Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland's not on that list. And no, I mean, you can go all over this. I don't believe that you should fire Doug Peterson yet. You look at the guys that have quarterback issues. The Jets have this unique quarterback issue. What did Aaron Rodgers do today? He got Robert Salah fired.
Yes.
Because you don't bring a guy into a bad culture who's already bad culture and think your culture is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And in the NFL, I'm telling you again, culture matters. Culture matters. I'll go to Cleveland. It's not that Deshaun Watson walked away from the huddle on Sunday. Was that the problem in Cleveland this weekend? Did you guys see the play? 4th down, Stefanski wants to go for it. He called a play and is in disbelief that Deshaun Watson is walking off the field because they can't afford to call that timeout. But why is Deshaun Watson walking off the field? Because there's 12 men in the huddle. But how did Deshaun Watson walk off the field? What did you say yesterday?
It's unprofessional. It didn't look great.
Perception's reality. And he moped off the field and walked by Stefanski. And meanwhile, Amari Cooper's standing there counting dudes. Is that Kevin Stefanski's fault? It is. Buck stops here. Would I fire Kevin Stefanski? No. But you know what the bigger issue in Cleveland is? The ownership is probably not allowing Stefanski to make a quarterback change. Not that he should, because Jameis is terrible.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson's not the problem. But my point is, you're not firing Kevin Stefanski. It's not his fault. You fired Robert Salah because it is his fault.
Yes.
You're not firing Kyle Shanahan. He's not the one that went and got CMC, a guy that's always hurt. And then all of a sudden he's hurt and you want to blame it on him.
But I also think that, like, the 49er CMC thing, dudes are not, what is this?
Jeff Ulbricht,
yeah,
the defensive coordinator, named interim head coach of the New York Jets. I'm really surprised by. I need to hear the press conference. I am really surprised that you're going to name the defensive coordinator Bobby Salah light. Jeff Ulbricht's a hell of a defensive mind. That's Robert Salah light. Oh, the Jets are going to jet. The Jets are going to jet.
I don't know.
I'm amazed.
I have to say, I don't know how you mess it up this badly. This is what I'm talking about with football teams, bro. You've got talent-wise, you've got one of the best defenses on paper, and you can't figure out how to make the car run. You've got, I would agree, an aging, slower Aaron Rodgers, but a guy in Aaron Rodgers who can still place the ball when he needs to, can still deliver it, but seemingly can't figure it out with Garrett Wilson somehow.
And you just went 20-36 with a defensive guy. You just went 20-36. And you, so not only did you fire that guy, you hired his protege.
So
I don't love this idea.
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to put myself in Jets ownership shoes here, front office shoes. So by making the defensive coordinator the interim, you're saying that you didn't fire through those actions. You're inherently saying you didn't fire Bob because he did a bad job. You're saying you fired Bob because the team needed an injection of like, hey, it's time to get going.
Because you're 2-3.
Because you're 2-3 and you've got expiring contracts and you need to start getting a move on.
Yeah. You're just going to do what you do.
So now I have to say, I hate this firing because you did it for the wrong reasons. I would understand, like I just said, I don't love Nathaniel Hackett as a head coach, but I would understand, given the situation, why he'd be your interim for like 2 weeks and then you'd hire a guy. Because obviously you got to go through the hiring process. But you fired your head coach, replaced him with the DC for your interim. And are you like, I agree, we're going to have to hear a real explanation on this and what the plan is.
And listen,
this is troubling.
This Jets defense is the best defense in the division. I agree with that. You've got to score more points. In my opinion, you've got to make Aaron Rodgers feel like he's the king of the castle.
I mean, look at the points you've given up. Like, let's look at the points they've given up. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, are we, have they even given up like 38, 40 points?
They have not given up 20 points. 32. Oh, no, excuse me. They gave up 32 to the Niners. 10 in a loss, 10-9 to the Broncos, and 23-17 they lost to the Vikings.
So
your offense is the problem.
So again, like I understand what the information we're getting is, hey, they fired him because the defense hasn't been good enough.
And that their culture sucks.
Okay. So I disagree the defense hasn't been good enough. This is about culture and the fact that maybe I don't have a lot of places to go. It appears to me you fired this dude because you wanted to just light a fire under everyone's ass. That's what this looks like. This looks like you didn't have a great, real clean cut plan after you hit the fire Bob button. Like, hey, we're going to fire you. And then
I think Nathaniel Hackett being such a bad coach in Denver is why he wasn't named the interim. And I think that the culture problem, the fact you're 2-3, the fact that you have a national television game coming up that you do not want to get embarrassed about, I think that's why you did this. Now you have a week to kind of turn things around. I can, from one perspective, understand why Jeff Ulbricht's the next head coach of the Jets here, because your defense is what you're built on. But I don't think I agree 100% with our guy that was telling us the culture is not good enough and the defense hasn't been good enough. Do you guys understand the money they've spent on that defense?
But okay,
I mean, it's remarkable.
I'm just asking this question. So when we say the defense hasn't been good enough, what more do we want out of the defense? What are we looking for?
I want them to, in my opinion, not go through what they went through in November last year when they lost all those games. I want them to, I think the defense is fine. It's not a bad defense. I'm not telling you it's a bad defense. They haven't been elite in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like clock management, timeouts, issues. The culture in that building is, in my opinion, why Robert Salah got fired.
I'm curious who's on their list. Who?
Well, it's going to be Ulbricht the rest of the year, I would assume. And if you're an interim coach, you're going to have obviously he's going to handle the defense. Hackett's going to handle Aaron Rodgers is going to handle the offense. Ulbricht will handle the defense.
It's true.
I'm a jerk.
But that's true. I don't think that's being a jerk. I think that's true.
They have a huge stretch of games here. Buffalo, at Pittsburgh. Again, that's Sunday Night Football on October 20th. At New England, Houston, at Arizona, and Indianapolis. Again, four of their next 7 games. 4 of their next 6 games are in primetime. That's incredible. And I think that's why their bye week is week 12. After the bye, Seattle at Miami, at Jacksonville, the Rams at Buffalo, Miami. So their schedule after the bye is significantly easier. I think that's why they fired him now. You've got to get the culture right, and you've got to give your chance. You've got to give yourself a chance to make the playoffs. Adam Schefter, Robert Salah went through 6 different starting quarterbacks during his time with the Jets, and none of them were the answer, including Aaron Rodgers, which tells you culture is a problem. Culture is a problem, and I think that this defense is good enough. You don't trade for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, lose as much as they've lost, and keep your job.
I would agree with that. I agree with that 100%. And I'm certainly not sitting here saying he shouldn't have been fired. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is from the catbird seat in the ownership office or in the GM's office, let's say, your VP of football ops guy, that office, that level, if you're sitting here and you fired your head coach, okay, I understand the reasons for that. I get that. But what's the path for success after that? That's my question, because it's not like the narrative just changes. It's not like you brought a new voice into the building. So we're sitting here saying, oh, hey, 6 quarterbacks in how many years, and the culture sucks. The culture's not good enough. It's just not. We're not winning at the rate we should be. So we're going to fire our head coach. Okay, step 1, I get it. But then you're going to elevate the defensive coordinator to be your interim for most likely the rest of the year, and you think that's going to change the culture?
I mean, it's a huge move to fire a guy after 5 weeks.
It is.
It is. And I'm really surprised that if he's not the interim head coach, how has Hackett kept his job? Well, there can only be one reason.
Right. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Who's very close with Hackett.
Yeah.
And it is really surprising to me. I mean, would it be surprising to anybody if Aaron Rodgers went and said, hey, but I don't know. Does Aaron Rodgers carry enough water in that town to get Robert Salah fired? I don't know. Something happened.
Yeah.
Something happened. That's the only thing that I can think of. But I look at the way that we expect things is different, because Albert Breer, who I think is one of the best insiders in all of the NFL, tweeting this morning, Salah came into work this morning as usual, was informed by Jets owner Woody Johnson of the decision. Ooh. So you didn't know. I'm very curious. When was this decision made?
Do you get the sense that this was an emotional decision out of Woody?
No, I think there had to be a break. There had to be an argument, a fight, something happened. They got embarrassed over it in Europe.
Yeah.
They did. That was bad. I think it is to fire him now tells me that you've lost all hope in him and this team. That's all that I can think of. That you've lost all hope in him. And McCluskey, you're not wrong. I wonder who the Jets will hire as their head coach that they'll fire in 2 to 3 years. Because that's what bad organizations do. Look at my Chicago Bears. It's what we do. I am really surprised that Robert Salah was fired today. What a crazy day of breaking news.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not a Jets fan. I'm definitely not a Jets hater. Like, that division needs the Jets to be good. And they're just not.
Yeah, I don't know what you do here.
And again, I have to say, because I'm a Tom Brady guy, always have been, always will be. You never went through this with Tom Brady, dude. You never had, and people want to run from it, but Aaron Rodgers is toxic. He goes to organizations and they die.
But there was always a belief in New England that you were going to win. You were going to compete.
Yeah.
There's not that belief with the Jets. And something broke in this last game.
Yeah.
And my guess is you look at the Sauce Gardner situation, you just look at the way that players interact, and you look at the awkward interaction now that 2 weeks ago, that awkward interaction with Salah and Aaron Rodgers on the sideline, where they had that weird hug me, don't touch me.
Yeah.
I'll kill you stare down.
Yeah.
How relevant does that look this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I to your question, does Aaron Rodgers carry enough water? I think he does. I do. I think you brought him in to go and chase a Super Bowl. He's got the leverage. What are you going to do? Cut him?
Yeah, I think that is
you know what I mean?
That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah,
to see. There you go. That's a lot of breaking news today.
Yeah,
the
have
Super
a nice
League,
day.
the Jets fire Robert Salah. A lot going on. As always, the Monty Show presented by our good friends at The Advocates. TheAdvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, where you get clear, risk-free advice. And you never pay the advocates out of pocket. You don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.